What is up, guys? Cover 3 Media here, going over our Week 5 starts and sits. We're going through each and every matchup, talking about the injury concerns, who's been playing well, who's been playing poorly, who's got a good matchup, who's got a bad matchup for those fringe-type players. We're giving you your go-ahead starts, your go-ahead sits. I'm thinking after 4 weeks, we're starting to feel a lot more confident about who we're picking here in our fantasy lineups, guys. We're starting to see some of our players are finally starting to show up and produce the way we need them to produce. So let's get into it, guys.
So, first up, to begin Week 5, we got Thursday Night Football, and we got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Denver Broncos. This might not be a very intriguing game. It might be boring to watch, but let's dive into start and sits for this game. First up with the Colts, you're starting Michael Pittman. I know he had a banged-up week. I think he's still just recovering from that injury, and hopefully he's more healthy going against Denver Broncos. He will face a tough test against Patrick Surtain, but I would still roll Pittman out, no doubt, because I think talent will be there and he could get a red zone touchdown. If Jonathan Taylor is playing, you're playing him. You got to put him in your lineup. You probably spent the number 1 pick on him. I think there's a good chance he might sit out, and if he does sit out, then I would flex Nyheim Hines into an RB2, depending on your situation. That would, determine that. There's no one really else on Indianapolis I'm interested in playing at all. Those are just the main 2-3 guys. And now with Denver, I'm going to be starting Courtland Sutton. He's been the most consistent guy on the Denver Broncos for fantasy. You're rolling him out there. I think you can flex Jerry Jeudy, no doubt about it. Had a solid good week. Made me more intrigued to want to play him now going forward. And then Melvin Gordon, I think you can flex RB2, same situation as Nyheim Hines if JT was out. Depends on your situation. He's going to be a lead back now since Javonte unfortunately tore his ACL. But going forward, Melvin should be a lead back, but he's had these fumble issues, so that could affect a few things. So definitely be aware of that going forward, and don't be disappointed if you do roll Melvin out there and he fumbles and he's benched for the rest of the game. But depending on your options, I don't think Melvin Gordon's a bad option against Indianapolis, as their defense is supposed to be a little better than I thought it would be. So hopefully that game's entertaining. Hopefully Jonathan Taylor plays and make the game more entertaining for us to watch, and hopefully lead to some more fantasy points in that matchup.
Giants-Packers. This game's going to be interesting. It's in London, guys. It's going to be an early game. I'm hoping it doesn't slow down these two teams. We saw last week that Minnesota and the Saints, they had a pretty good game. It was a pretty good scoring game there, guys. Hopefully it can be the same way for Green Bay and the Giants as far as fantasy is concerned, guys. Let's get right into it. Saquon Barkley, he's the only starter for the Giants here, guys. The only guy who has reliable points every week, and he is this offense. No questions asked, guys. I will say the Packers defense, it seems to be struggling a little bit, guys, as far as, holding teams to low scores and low yardage here. I think this Packers defense is still great, but they got to figure stuff out. This running defense is going to improve here, guys. I'm not so sure it's going to be Week 5, but even if it is Week 5, I don't see them stopping Saquon and keeping him to a very low number. I still think Saquon will get his points this week, but don't expect an absolutely insane performance out of Saquon. Although it could happen, I'm not putting my money on it, guys. I think he is, high floor, low ceiling this week, guys. So that's what we got for Saquon. Packers, we're talking Aaron Jones. He's an RB2. Go ahead, start there, guys. A.J. Dillon, I think he's situational for you guys. I think he is a low-end flex play if you need to play him, or if you're thin at the running back situation, whether it be just the way you drafted or injury concerns. I think A.J. Dillon is still a pretty good start here, guys. I think the Packers are going to have to rely on the rushing game per usual, guys. Allen Lazard and Dobbs, I think they're both fringe flex plays in that order. I think Allen Lazard, you start first, and then Dobbs second. It looks like Aaron Rodgers is getting more confidence with his passing offense, guys. I think Allen Lazard is still his probably favored target, but Dobbs has definitely been showing out, guys. I think Allen Lazard is more certain to have at least like 15 points PPR, whereas Dobbs could have a good game, but I'm just not banking on it just yet, guys. I got to see another week out of him. I think you guys have some better plays than Dobbs, but if you want to play Dobbs and you go for it, I'm not going to judge you for it. Let's talk about the sits. All the other Giants players, I don't care who it is, we're sitting them, guys. And then for the Packers, I'm sitting Robert Tonyan. He just hasn't had quite the production I need to see out of him. Rodgers, he likes Tonyan, but Tonyan's got to start seeing like 6 to 7 targets per game if I want to be starting him in my starting lineups every week, guys. And then I'm sitting Christian Watson, guys. I think he still needs time to develop here in this offense. I think he's still kind of dealing with a hamstring injury and whatever else it is. He's got to gain some more trust with Rodgers. I could see him starting on your lineups come week 10, but this guy's going to take a little bit more time there for me. We got Lions versus Patriots, guys. For the Lions, I'm only starting TJ Hawkinson and Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams has maybe earned a spot in your lineups as a running back 2 or low-end flex option, guys. I'm still worried that he is touchdown dependent, as he does have 6 touchdowns on the year. So, I mean, I don't know. It's your preference, guys. I think he's been playing well enough to be in your lineup respectfully. Amon-Ra St. Brown, if he happens to be healthy, which it's not looking like it, I could see you guys starting him at the flex area. DeAndre Swift, I don't care if he's healthy or not. I'm just not going to start him this week because I think the injuries are going to linger even if he does play and he's just not going to get enough workload. Let's talk about the Patriots. Obviously, they have a weird quarterback situation going on now, guys. I haven't really been a fan of their wide receiver situation here, even with Mac Jones. So I can't really predict who's going to get the action this week, guys. That's why I'm not starting anyone on this Patriots wide receiver core, especially with the shaky quarterback situation there in New England. As far as running backs concerned, guys, I could see you starting Ramondre Stevenson or Damian Harris, but it's one of those things where which one's going to have the better game, which one's going to find the end zone, probably Damian Harris. But, on Fantasy Pros, they're projected right around 21, 22, so they're outside that running back 2 tier for this week. If you don't have a better option than one of those guys, I could see you stuffing them in at running back 2, or if your flex play is just not looking good at all. I think these guys are definitely going to get a heavy workload this week with the shaky quarterback situation, so mind that, you guys. Then for the Lions, again, obviously if Amon-Ra's out, you're sitting him. DeAndre Swift, I'm sitting him no matter what, guys. And then for the other wide receivers there, I'm sitting them as well, guys. And then for the Patriots, like I said, I'm sitting all the wide receivers there. I just don't care for them. So
now we got the Los Angeles Chargers traveling to take on the Cleveland Browns. Let's first start out with the Chargers. I'm starting Austin Eckler. Finally had a huge game. You're rolling him out there. Spent a first-round pick on him. I still love his talent in red zone and touchdown opportunity and passing game work. You're starting Keenan Allen. If he plays, I think he will finally be playing. He's been out for the last 2 weeks, and I think he will immediately be the target lead for this team and have a great game against the Browns. Mike Williams, I think you're also starting /flexing. He's a boomer bust guy. He's been, every other week so far has been doing good. Hopefully he stays on the other end and has a good week this week, but you gotta take what you're gonna get with Mike Williams. I know there's some games when he's gonna have some duds, but all in all, you just got to take the chance with him because he can have some big weeks playing in an explosive offense led by Justin Herbert. I think you also got to start Gerald Everett. I haven't been too high on him, but he's been proven to be a very solid tight end option, especially when nobody else has really been producing at all this season besides Kelsey and Andrews at the tight end position. If you have him, you're playing him unless you got a better option. Let us know in the comments if you have a tough decision between Gerald Everett and somebody else. Now at the Cleveland Browns, you're starting Nick Chubb. Been number 1 back in PPR so far this season. Looks to continue to keep it rolling against the Chargers. Kareem Hunt, you could flex RB2. Like I was talking about on a different section with Melvin Gordon and Nyheim Hines, I would start Hunt over those 2 guys. But it depends on your situation because he is honestly the second heaviest involved player in this offense. Amari Cooper, I'm sitting. I know he started off really weak in week 1, and then week 2 and 3 had very good games, but week 4 just another dud. I just don't want to take a chance with him. I think you got better options, so I hope you do that you can put in instead of Amari Cooper. Also, I think you can start David Njoku. He's had a few good weeks in a row here. Situational, depends on what you got at your tight end options. I know Kittle and Pitts and Waller have been struggling, but if I have them, I would still start them over Njoku. So that should be a pretty solid game, I think, on Sunday.
We got the Texans versus the Jaguars. Now, for the Texans, I'm starting Brandon Cooks, guys. I think he's the main wide receiver target here for Davis Mills. Obviously, we're going to be banking on Davis Mills having a good game here. The Jags are a pretty good matchup here for the Houston Texans as far as offense is concerned. I still think the Jags will probably pull away with a win, but I still think the Texans can put up considerable fantasy points for at least 2 players, that being Cooks and Dameon Pierce. So I am starting Dameon Pierce for for sure this week, guys. I think he's a great week 5 option for running back. I think he's definitely worked his way into the running back 2 tier in my mind. This Texans offense is certainly going to have to rely on Dameon Pierce if they want to have some, efficient offensive drives. And, he's just going to become a big piece of this offense, guys. This subpar passing offense, Dameon Pierce is going to take care of it in the rushing game and take some pressure off this passing offense. So expect to see good production out of Pierce this week, guys. Hopefully he gets in the end zone for you just to put the cherry on top, guys. And yeah, just keep riding with Pierce here going forward. And then for the Jaguars, the only certain start I have for the Jaguars is Christian Kirk. I know he kind of had a week that last week that wasn't the greatest, but they did play in terrible, terrible conditions for passing. And even then, the rushing offense was struggling too, playing against this Eagles defense. Now this week against the Texans, hopefully there's good weather. And, the Texans, they don't have the greatest defense. So I see Christian Kirk having a rebound week here, guys. Trevor Lawrence's favorite target. Obviously, we saw last week that Trevor Lawrence had 5 turnovers. That's not good. I don't see that happening again, especially considering that weather was horrendous. So that's it for the Jags. Sits. I'm talking the Texans. We're sitting everyone else outside of Cooks and Pierce. I just don't think this offense has enough power to supply other players with consistent, good fantasy points. So I'm not starting anyone else there. And then the Jags, I'm sitting everyone else on this team. Wide receivers, I'm sitting Evan Ingram at tight end, guys. I think we got to see more out of him. I still think he can start to make an impact in this offense. I think it's just going to take some more time here. And I'm sitting J-Rob and ETN this week, guys. I just think there's better options out there. I think J-Rob is slowly going to be losing his touches to ETN. I still have confidence in that. And, that's just my thoughts on that, guys. I just don't think J-Rob is a solid start this week. I'd rather start other guys over J-Rob like Breece Hall, guys in that range. I could even start Rashad Penny over J-Rob just because I see J-Rob's production decreasing over the next few weeks, guys. All right, guys, and then the Falcons versus the Buccaneers here. Let's start with the Falcons. I'm starting Kyle Pitts. I'm starting Drake London here, guys. Those two, I feel like, are going to get the workload this week, especially with Cordero being out, guys. So Cordero's a sit, obviously, because he's out. Let's talk about the Buccaneers. Tom Brady looks like he's playing on Sunday, so that's that. So that means we're starting Mike Evans. I think Chris Godwin is definitely an option here for your flex. Coming back from the injury, he looked decent last weekend, getting 7 receptions and, putting up decent yardage there, guys, for fantasy. So this week, hopefully he kind of shows up a little bit more here and gets more points for you guys. And then we can start Leonard Fournette as well. Great fantasy option there for running back. For the Falcons, I'm sitting everyone else, guys. No running backs, no other receivers. I just don't think they're going to get the workload necessary. And then for the Buccaneers, I'm sitting guys like Julio Jones and Russell Gage.
We got the Pittsburgh Steelers traveling to Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills take on Bills Mafia. First with Pittsburgh, you're still starting Najee. He's been disappointing, but he's still getting a solid 10, 11 points every week. You still got to roll him out there. You can start Freiermuth at tight end. Definitely been very productive at the tight end position. You can flex Deontay Johnson still. We got a quarterback change with Kenny Pickett. I think that should help him. And you can flex, I think, this week, the rookie George Pickens. Check out my video here on TikTok and Instagram about him. Finally had a good game, and it started right when Kenny Pickett went and entered the game. I think you can definitely flex him wide receiver 3/4 range this week. Claypool, I'm not starting at all still. I'm thinking Pickens and Deontay really going to benefit to Pickett coming in town and starting. Now on Buffalo Bills side, you're starting Stephon Diggs still. Been pretty consistent this year. Been one of the top receivers to have. Gabe Davis, I'm still going to flex. He's got a very juicy matchup against the Steelers. I know he's been struggling the last few weeks, but he's been dealing with injuries. That's kind of what I'm guessing the downplay of targets has been. I think he's going to get things rolling. Crowder's out for the year now with a broken ankle, I'm assuming. So Gabe Davis has a good chance to go off this game. Definitely flex him, guys, if you have him. I think this is a good opportunity for him to bounce back. Devin Singletary, flex / RB2. Definitely in the same tier for me as Hunt, Hines if JT doesn't go and Melvin Gordon doesn't go. I think Singletary is probably the best option out of there just because the great offense he's in. So it definitely depends on their situation there. Then Dawson Knox, I'm probably not playing. I think there's just some better options at tight end that you probably have if you own him.
We got Miami versus the Jets, guys. This one will be interesting without Tua, but I still think Teddy Bridgewater can do some considerable damage. I think he can still supply at least one wide receiver with some fantasy production. And last week, it looked like Tyreek Hill was his main target, being the veteran there in Miami. So, looking forward to Week 5 with this matchup here. And Dolphins, I'm only really confident in starting Tyreek Hill, guys, being that last week it looked like he was the main option for Teddy Bridgewater, and that Waddle was a little bit, injury concerns and whatnot during that game. I think that kind of held him back, and we just saw that the overall targets for Waddle have been kind of low through 4 weeks. And a guy like Waddle, he has great big play potential, guys, but I still want to see him getting targeted a considerable amount in an offense if I feel confident starting him in my lineup for fantasy football, guys. So Waddle, I think, be aware of him. Stay on the lookout for his injury. I think that could hold him back, guys, as far as his production, because he is a speedster. He's going to rely on that speed in this game. And Teddy Bridgewater, I just don't know if that connection is there with him. So I'd have a little bit of concern starting him this week, guys. I think he's like a flex play for sure. I think you can stuff him in there at the flex around the third or fourth flex spot. So watch out for that, guys. And then for the Jets, I'm starting Breece Hall, guys, as a fringe flex or a running back 2, depending on your situation. I think Breece Hall has a low ceiling, but he's shown that he's kind of got a higher floor in the sense that it's not going to be like 5. I think Breece Hall will get like 10 points every week at least, but breaking 20 is going to be a little bit of a stretch unless he has some big plays. So that's Breece Hall there for you guys. I think Garrett Wilson is a low-end flex here with the Jets. Now that Zach Wilson's back, it was a little bit of a shaky start, but we saw some promise. Garrett Wilson's still looking like the most talented receiver in this receiver room. I know Corey Davis is getting some good action there, but Garrett Wilson, I think, has big play potential here, guys. So in this offense especially, and we've seen that he can get the job done on this offense. So he's a low-end flex play, kind of similar to Waddle, where if you got someone more solid, if you drafted that way or whatever have you, you could start someone over to Garrett Wilson. Now, we're talking the sits here with Miami. I'm sitting everyone else. That includes Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds, and Mike Gesicki. I just don't think, many of you will have to start these guys. Again, now that this offense is going to be slowing down a little bit, we saw that Chase Edmonds has been relying on touchdowns for points, and Raheem Mostert, I don't know if he's going to be getting enough workload, considering he's splitting the backfield with Chase Edmonds. I don't know if either of them are going to be getting enough workload to really produce fantasy-wise, so I'm sitting them this week, guys. I think you got some better options out there. And then as far as the Jets, I'm sitting Corey Davis and Elijah and Conklin. I'm going to sit him too, guys. I'm not confident there in that Jets offense supplying so many guys. Michael Carter, I'm sitting as well. If you had to start any guy out of these 4 guys, I'd probably start Corey Davis. I think he's the next level behind Garrett Wilson. I think Corey Davis has more of a connection with Zach Wilson as far as what I've seen. And Corey Davis, a big red zone threat, and he just always seems to be getting his work this year, guys, as far as fantasy is concerned. So I'm feeling safe about Corey Davis this week, guys. What's up, guys? We got the Vikings versus Bears, NFC North divisional matchup here, guys. For the Vikings, we're starting JJ, no questions asked. Dalvin Cook, I think you can put him in at your running back 2 slot. No questions asked there, guys. And I think Thielen, he's a fringe flex play for you guys. So that's all I'm starting for the Vikings, guys. And then for the Bears, the only guy I'm considering is Khalil Herbert, guys. If you're thin at the running back slot, or if you need a very low-end flex play, you could stuff in, Khalil Herbert against this Vikings defense. I do think the Vikings, front line is a little bit worrisome there, but, the Bears, they got nothing else to do but run the ball. So, Khalil Herbert might be a good play this week. As far as the Vikings sit, I'm sitting KJ Osborne. I'm sitting Irv Smith Jr. Madison, I'm sitting him too. So basically everyone else that I didn't mention as starts for the Vikings, I'm sitting there. And then for the Bears, I'm sitting everyone other than Khalil Herbert. If David Montgomery, he's got his injury, I don't care. Regardless if he's healthy or not, I'm not starting him, guys. Mooney, I'm sitting. I'm sitting Cole Kmet. This passing offense is just looking horrendous. We all know this.
The Tennessee Titans taking on the Commanders in D.C. Starting out with Tennessee, only 2 guys. I'm starting King Henry. It's finally been looking like himself the last few weeks. Washington on paper's got a pretty good D-line, but it's not looking like it's very going to be a tough matchup for Henry. I know Titans O-line's a little banged up, but Henry, you got to start him. There's just no doubt about it. Robert Woods, I think you can flex as well this week. Traylon Burks, turf toe injury now, so Woods should be the number one option. Tannehill has not looked very sexy at all this season, not good at all. But I think Robert Woods has an opportunity to get like 6 to 8 targets and hopefully a touchdown against a exposable Washington secondary. So definitely plug Woods into your flex lineup spot this week. And now with Washington, I still think you can start Terry McLaurin. He's been consistent, just getting 12 to like 15 points first 3 weeks, and then had a dud this past week with 5 points. I think you can still roll him out there because the Tennessee Titans secondary isn't very, very good. So definitely, I'm getting a little worried about Terry in DC, but I think you can play him still. You can still flex Curtis Samuel. Finally kind of had a down week, and I'm still not a big fan of him. Depends on your situation at hand, who the other options you have at the flex position, but he's definitely a player to keep your mind on. If I'm picking between him and Woods, I would probably play Woods, honestly. And then I'm not starting Gibson. Brian Robinson might be back this week. I'm sitting Gibson. His snap share is just going down every week, it seems like to me, and from the stats I've seen. So look elsewhere at the running back position. Don't start Gibson this week against the Tennessee Titans.
Next is the Seahawks versus the Saints, guys. This one will be interesting here. Last week we saw that Seattle had quite the offensive performance against the Lions. I know the Lions have a pretty weak defense there, guys, but Seattle, considering their offensive strength the first 3 weeks before the Lions, I just wasn't so confident in this offense and producing for fantasy owners. Now, last week we saw DK finally had a fantastic week. Rashad Penny finally had a fantastic week. Those are the only 2 guys I am considering in my starting lineups from the Seahawks this week, guys. I think they can both have games against this Saints defense. DK, such a physical talent. I think it's going to rely on how well Geno Smith can run this offense if he's having a game. I still think DK can get his in this game. Somebody has to get some production here, guys. I think it's going to be DK. Rashad Penny, I think he's a little bit situational. Right now, for me, he's about a running back 3. If we're talking about, safe plays, I think he has potential to finish, obviously, as a top 5 running back on a week-to-week basis as far as, he's got that ceiling. He can have those crazy breakout games. So I could see you stuffing him in there, guys, as your running back 2, or a flex option if you're kind of weak there, guys. I think he might have another big week here, or at least like 15 points, which is more than enough for a flex option or a running back 2. Just knowing how Seattle's offense is rolling right now, I think they're going to have a healthy mix of, the passing game and the rushing game here against the Saints. And then as far as the Saints are concerned, man, there's only 2 guys I'm considering, and that's Olave and Kamara. I'm surprised I'm saying Olave, guys. I was not the biggest fan coming into the season on Olave. He's definitely proven me, I wouldn't say wrong, but he's definitely, kind of showed up, and he's kind of, he's proven himself. He's kind of shown that he is a respectable rookie wide receiver. I don't know how high his ceiling is going to be for the rest of his career, but he's definitely taking advantage of the situation he's in right now. And he's definitely what I've seen is he's a high IQ receiver. He's made some good IQ plays, which you definitely like to see out of a wide receiver. That can make definite changes in someone's career. So look out for that, guys. I like Olave this week against Seattle just because MT is kind of dealing with injuries. Jarvis hasn't really been showing up to the show. The other wide receivers are kind of low end, and the tight end situation is basically non-existent. So, whether it's Jameis or Andy Dalton, I think Andy Dalton had a fantastic performance against the Vikings, guys. Watch out for that, guys. Olave, I think he's a good start here. Now, Kamara, I think he's the only other guy who could start in this game if he's healthy, guys. I think he's going to have workload with the Saints team. I know they're trying to reincorporate him in the offense and get him rolling here. I know he's dealing with the rib injuries, and he was ruled out for week 4 against the Vikings. So watch out for that, guys. If he's healthy, I'm confident in putting Kamara in, even though he hasn't really shown much this season. So look out for that. For the sits for the Seahawks, I am talking Lockett sit, Noah Fant sit, Disley sit, and Ken Walker sit. These guys just have not been showing enough for me week in, week out. I think you guys got some better options. Walker's going to take some time to get more, acquainted in this offense. He's got to start seeing more touches, guys. He's still very low on touches this season, and we'll see what he can do. I know he was dealing with injuries this offseason, so that could be holding him back and slowing him down too. Again, just sit him, guys, for this week unless for some reason you have to start him. But yeah, as far as the Saints are concerned, I'm sitting MT this week, healthy or not. If he's playing, guys, I don't think he's going to be getting a lot of production. I've seen this with MT in the past. When he's dealing with injuries, he just isn't the most productive receiver. And the last thing you want with MT is to go in for a couple possessions and then he re-injures it and he's out. So I'm sitting MT no matter what because his injury concerns are just not good for me. And then Jarvis, I'm sitting. It's just been a consistent decline for him since week 1, unfortunately. And then all else, I'm sitting, no questions asked, guys. So that's that. We got the 49ers versus the Panthers, guys. Let's get right to it. 49ers, we are starting Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, potentially Jeffrey Wilson Jr. If you guys have no one else to start at the running back 2 slot, or if your flex is looking very thin, I think it's very situational, guys, there. San Fran always seems to get the running backs involved, so it's kind of a coin toss, guys, but it's up to you there. As far as the Panthers are concerned, I am only starting Christian McCaffrey with certainty. I think DJ Moore is a very, very low-end flex play here, guys. If you absolutely need to start him, go for it. But against this 49ers defense, it's not looking great. This 49ers team took care of business against the Rams, against a Rams defense and against a Rams offense. So this very underpowered Panthers offense and defense might have a lot of struggles for fantasy against this 49ers offense. Talking about the 49ers sits here, one reason why I could say start Ayuk is just because you are playing against the Panthers and there could be potential for a lot of people in this 49ers offense to score points. But if the 49ers get out to a big enough of a lead, that might hinder, further fantasy production. So Ayuk's another one of those guys who is a very fringe level flex player. If you have to put him in. This could be a good matchup for you, but you're banking on him getting, a good amount of targets, whereas Kittle and Deebo are definitely Garoppolo's go-tos. I know Kittle didn't get a lot of production last week, but I feel like that's got to change eventually, guys. So look out for that. And then for the good old Panthers, I'm sitting everyone else on this team, and I'm actually very, 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 very highly considering, sitting DJ Moore just because of what we've seen this season so far. Baker Mayfield just is not getting the job done there, guys. So again, DJ Moore is a very, very situational, very fringe start if you absolutely need to, if you're thin at wide receiver or running back that could go into the flex.
Now we got a fun game, hopefully. Eagles versus Arizona. Eagles are undefeated. Arizona is an explosive offense, still fun to watch. Eagles, you're starting the big three. You're starting A.J. Brown, Goddard, and Devontae Smith still. Brown and Goddard have been consistent all year. Devontae Smith's had a few games where he hasn't been as consistent, but that's just been due to the game script. But you got to roll him out there. You've seen what he can do, especially what he did against Washington. Miles Sanders, you could flex him and put him at your RB2. He's definitely, in a committee, but if they're leading again and, they run the ball a lot, he can get good opportunities. I would start him over guys like Singletary, Hunt, Hines, Melvin Gordon for sure, and like Jeff Wilson and guys like that. I think he could have a pretty good game against Arizona. Now with Arizona, you're starting Hollywood Brown and Ertz. They've been the two most consistent fantasy players on this team. You can roll them out there. I know it's a tough game because the Eagles secondary is very good, but I think that might actually help them if they're down, just be passing the ball a lot. James Conner, RB2/flex range, just like, I said with Sanders. I would play Sanders over him personally. Conner seems like he's more touchdown dependent than Sanders. And then I'm sitting Rondell Moore and Dortch. I just think there's way better options you can put in your flex spot. And don't forget, D-Hop is coming back, so if he's on the waivers for some reason, pick him up because he's going to be very involved in this offense.
Then we got the Cowboys versus the Rams, guys. This one will be interesting. Can Dallas keep up their winning streak? And can the Rams start to figure something out here, guys? They were not good last week against the 49ers. I did not see that coming. I personally have Deebo Samuel in fantasy myself, and I was kind of worried to see what would happen there with this Rams defense, but they had no answers for this 49ers offense, which I don't think the 49ers are, their tools never seem to be like, holy crap, but they always seem to get it done. Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback, these running backs that aren't the most talented running backs in the league. I mean, I know they got Deebo and Kittle, but Kittle was barely used. So this is kind of concerning for the Rams as far as defense is concerned, and as far as offense is concerned, they were really struggling against this 49ers defense. Now I know this 49ers defense has some great players on it, so against this Dallas defense, I know they still got some good defensive players there too. So we'll be watching out there, guys. So with the Cowboys, I'm starting CeeDee Lamb and CeeDee Lamb only, guys. I think this guy is the go-to target in this offense right now. He is showing up. He's finally starting to show you guys that this guy is one of the best young talents in the league. He's the only start for me on Dallas, guys. No questions asked. For the Rams, I'm only starting Kupp and Higbee possibly, depending on your situation. I think these two have been consistent performers in this offense. Obviously, Higbee's had a little bit lower of consistency, but Kupp's getting a crap ton of targets, guys. He is this offense right now, guys. Obvious start there, no questions asked. And I'll get into why, I'm not starting some other players later on the Rams here because of this. So sitting for Dallas, we're sitting Zeke, we're sitting Powell, we're sitting Schultz, we're sitting Noah Brown. For Zeke, he just doesn't seem to have what it takes to take advantage of the carries he's got. He's just putting up very low in running back numbers. I could see him having a game here and there, but not against this Rams defense. I just don't see that happening. Same with Pollard. Schultz, he's dealing with injury, guys. I just don't feel confident that, even if he is playing, if he's going to be, a productive player in this offense. Noah Brown, I'm just saying sit, guys, because, again, it's the Los Angeles Rams defense, and I think the Cowboys might struggle to move the ball down the field here, guys. Noah Brown might get his, but I think you guys have some more secure options with better matchups this week. So Noah Brown, he's a sit for me, guys. And then the Rams, I got to sit A-Rob, guys. He had that one good week, and it's just like, I know Matthew Stafford has to give A-Rob the ball if they want to start winning games. Cooper Kupp, he's a great receiver, but you can't be forcing it to Cooper Kupp on almost every dang play, 18 targets last week especially, and expect to win. That's just not going to happen, guys. They got to spread the ball. They got to have a little bit of mystery in this offense. I know they're trying to get the running game going sometimes, but Cam Akers and Henderson, they're just not getting the job done. That's why I'm sitting them two guys. They are not good enough to be in my starting lineups at all. There you have it with the Cowboys versus Rams. We got Bengals versus Ravens, guys. I'm hoping from a football fan perspective that this game is a shootout. I've been waiting on the Bengals to have a crazy offensive performance, guys, just so I can watch it and enjoy it, guys. But that just has not seemed to really happen this year to my standard. Now, let's get right into it. Bengals, we're starting Jamar Chase. We're starting T. Higgins. We're starting Joe Mixon. No matter what, guys. I know Jamar Chase has had a little bit of a rough patch, but you know what? His floor has been pretty high for fantasy. At least he's not putting up absolute duds. He's just waiting to explode there, guys. T. Higgins, he's been a reliable option for fantasy so far. Joe Mixon, similar deal. And then Ravens, we're talking only Mark Andrews is a really consistent, healthy, good start for you guys. Rashad Bateman, right now, I know he's got big play potential, but he's got to get more involved in this offense, guys. So Rashad Bateman's like a flex 4 spot for me. So very fringe level flex play here, guys. It's gonna be kind of matchup wise here, guys. I think the Bengals secondary isn't the greatest, so you could see some great production out of Rashad Bateman. Other players I could see starting him over are guys like DJ Moore or Brandon Ayuk. I think Rashad Bateman's got more potential there with his quarterback and against this Bengals defense. So as far as my sits are concerned for the Bengals, I'm sitting everyone else, no questions asked, no Tyler Boyd. He's got the potential to have some good games, guys, but I'm just not putting my money on it. I'm not putting my fantasy week on the line to hope that Tyler Boyd comes out and does something unless for some reason he is your only good option in your flex. So that's that, guys. And then as far as the Ravens are concerned, I am sitting J.K. Dobbins. I'm not too comfortable starting him this week just because I just don't think he's 100% yet, guys. And last week, 2 touchdowns are what gave him 12 out of his 22 points. I know 10 points isn't terrible out of a running back outside of touchdowns, but his average yards per carry were not great, guys. I think he's still dealing with injury. I think that could hinder his performance week 5 against the Bengals there. And then Devin Duvernay, the only other consideration there out of the Baltimore offense, I'm sitting him too, guys. Again, he's very, he's just not going to have that consistency for you guys. I think you've seen that already this season. And obviously we're sitting everyone else on this Ravens team. So that's that.
Close out week 5 on Monday Night Football. We got the Raiders taking on the Chiefs, who have looked great this season. First up with Vegas, you're starting Tay, you're starting Jacobs. Hopefully you didn't listen to me last week when I said to sit Jacobs, depending on your situation, but you got to put him in there as your RB2. He's definitely over guys I've been mentioning in some of my parts of this video, like Sanders, like Connor. You're playing him over him. And Darren Waller, I know it's been disappointing, but you got to play him still. Unless you got a guy like an Andrews or Kelsey over him, I think you got to put Waller out there. It's just like Carr's just not really spreading the ball around as much as we thought, but if you have him, you got to play him. And I'm sitting Renfrow, Matt Collins, regardless if Renfrow's healthy or not. There should be better options. I would play a guy like Robert Woods over him. And this is a spot where Curtis Samuel I would actually play over Renfrow or Matt Collins this week. And then Kansas City. Honestly, they've been looking good and spreading the ball off. Mahomes been looking fantastic, but hasn't really contributed to a lot of fantasy options besides a few. I'm starting Kelsey, obviously. Best tight end, him and Andrews. You just got to roll him out there. I think you can flex /RB2 Clyde. Clyde, we've been saying sell high for weeks, but he's still getting the touchdowns. He's not getting volume at all because it's a committee backfield, but he's getting the red zone opportunities, which, does result in fantasy points so far this season. I think I would play a guy like Jacobs over him. I think I would actually play a guy like Sanders over him, but I would play him over guys like Singletary, Hines if JT's out, or Melvin Gordon. That's kind of where I would put him in if you want to play him, because he's getting the opportunities to score touchdowns, which does lead to fantasy points, but definitely be bullish on him still, guys, because his touches don't result in fantasy points. It's just where the touches have been, which have been valuable. And then last, on a really low end flex, it really depends on your situation, is Juju. He's been honestly the most consistent receiver. It hasn't resulted in a lot of fantasy points here on the Chiefs, but a guy like Robert Woods, I would still play over him. But you can play Juju over guys, like Amari Cooper and stuff like that, I think, in my eyes. There's no other receivers on the Chiefs I'm interested in playing. MVS, Sky Moore, Mecole Hardman, I'm not playing them. There's not consistency because Mahomes is spreading the ball and it's resulting in success for the Chiefs. So it sucks for us for fantasy managers, but that's what it is. Should be a fun game to end Monday Night Football and hopefully an exciting Week 5, guys, here. Definitely, comment your questions on certain situations you have when I've been saying certain spots about, some running backs. That depends on your situation. So let us know, guys. Should be a fun week.
Well, there you have it, guys. There's our Week 5 starts and sits for fantasy this week. I hope you had something to take away from this video. I hope you learned something here, guys. I hope you guys make the right decisions as far as your starts and sits are concerned. I hope you guys win your weeks in fantasy. As always, check out our other socials, Instagram and TikTok, to see more, daily videos. They're very quick, very easy, very accessible. A lot of good stuff to learn there, guys. Just week in, week out, as far as who you should be starting, who you should be targeting in trades, and who you should be picking up, dropping, whatever else we're talking about there on our other pages. Again, hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Leave a comment if you have any specific questions, about your guys. And leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and drop a subscribe if you want to keep on watching what we have to offer for you guys. Cover 3 Media, we got you covered for everything fantasy football this year. We're winning championships.